Hi, this is Bill Foote, and welcome to yet another session with what I'm calling New Day Supply Analysis. The motivation for this, of course, is the same as the video right before this. This is an update of that material to expand the narrative into pricing wars, among other things. Stylized facts are very straightforward. Um, most microeconomic theory and but not practice has an upward sloping supply curve. This has been going on for a long time. Short run, medium term, long run. In the short run, it's probably flatter. Long run, probably steeper, and it's based upon a particular view about optimizing rational atomistic agents called firms. Several what William Baumol called managerial capitalists have contested this idea. Frederick Lee, Alan Blinder in 1994, Lee in 98, Andrews in 1949. I have the articles here. You just have to click on the underlined here to bring you over there. Not only flat curves, but often declining curves with increasing production. It's designed that way by the production engineers, among other things. Um, pr- Price rigidity is a major component of Keynesian economics, which is probably the most important move in economics prior to 1950. After 1950, it's free trade and this rational choice model. Um, Milton Friedman, among others, really pushed it. And also in the operations research area was a major push in this direction. Linear programming for resource allocation, invented uh, ostensibly by Soviet Union and its central planning activities, is brought over into the United States, probably with Strategic Air Command, U.S. Air Force in the late 40s, and has remained the primary um, analytical framework for practical problems in resource allocation in most organizations. But the marginal cost curve issue is flat, as both Lee Blinder and ultimately Andrews before that found with surveys of literature and actual surveys of executives who were price setters. Uh, Lots of reasons for this costly adjustment. Consumer psychology are among some of the major reasons, implicit contracting, and so on. We went through all of these other aspects of oligopolistic pricing because that also seemed to be the other cornerstone of price setting. The rest of us are price takers. Now, if we're a small contracting company pouring cement into sidewalks, you're a price taker. You have no influence over price. But if you are a major producer of concrete, you do. It works in a hierarchy, a very natural hierarchy of power and control over resources. We stick with this idea all the way through and update it, and quite a bit here of information on how much a particular illustration, which is activated charcoal production for purification and even making what is called clean steel. The Billy Joel song, Chromium Steel. There we go. Here we're looking at cocoa coir, desiccated coconut fiber, as the main ingredient. And of course, it's always fun to look at all the ways in which this is produced and then used in plant. Um, I illustrate that this isn't the only input. You can also use wood and bituminous coal, as Calgon carbon does. There's a listing there for that. The prior video had a narrative, and narrative works. There's some arithmetic changes here in this environment in order to create an expanded narrative. And the expansion is let's produce at maximum, which is becoming pretty much the rule in the recipe at the end. I expanded maximum production to 8 kilograms a day. Minimum is still at 4.5. There are total cost of 45 a day on minimum capacity and 13 and a half per day on all the fixed costs. And these are flows, not stocks. The stock of total costs is often found in a category called your fixed assets and your variable assets. Long-term assets, property, plant and equipment, among other things. Variable costs here is still $7. So that total cost is equal to 13.5 plus 7Q. Basic algebra goes through, same as before. And again, the reason why we're looking at these ratios is ultimately because we want to look at the revenue ratio, revenue per quantity, which we'd call price. Basically, that's price. Simply put, there are other more elaborate schemes for talking about price. But how do we find price? The way we decided to do it, just looking at this diagram, is start at the minimum, and that's 4.5. Start there. That's the lowest level the factory should be operating at, according to the people who built the factory. At that point, we simply calculate total cost per 4.5. 45 per 4.5 gives us 10. Now we know at that point we're at break even if we set the price there. So we do set the price there, which is a margin over average variable cost of 7. As you can see, V is the average variable cost. P is the price. It's V times 1 plus M. Well, that's V plus M times V, and M times V, the spread, is 3. And that's 10. 10 equals 10. We're breaking even at that point. That is one way to set a price. We have a margin idea. We want to make 5 over that. Well, that's going to have a different average total cost. If we wanted to go up to 12, for example, the average total cost is going to be way over here. And it might be a level of factory that we really don't like, but this one here is reasonable. So what I have done is I've colored in the profit all the way out to maximum. The total cost per 8 units is 8.7. You can see total cost declines, not because of variable cost, that's always constant, right? Average variable cost, but because average fixed cost is declining. And that's a very important aspect of this analysis, that we're spreading fixed costs across increasing levels of production. And that's called economies of scale, effectively. And at this point, with price equals 10, we're making a total spread, in terms of total cost of 10 minus 8.7, which is 1.3. Okay, we're making some headway there. And if we calculate this out, it's a profit maximization of 10.5. Do the math. Make sure it's correct. If it isn't, let me know. But what the moral of the story really is, well, why not just stick to target? Well, that's not much. But we want to get as much of our product into the marketplace as the market will bear. That's one piece. And as the market will bear at a price, that's another piece. So let's operate the plant at capacity. That's what it was designed for in the first place. Now, capacity can shrink from there and come back on occasion. So, the average maximum capacity we're calling 8. Probably the nameplate is higher than that because that's very typical as well in all of these sorts of studies. Notice the graph is cut off here at about 3, 3.5. So that 0 means we go all the way to 0. And this yellow box is the profit box. Anything above this curve, anything above this curve is going to be profit. If we're right here, it's only this little bit here. And now that we're at this point, it's this whole box. So the height from 8.7 to 10 times 8 gives us roughly 10.5. Oh, we have the list here from before, some details in it. We also had a short discussion about how to find break even and the margin rate itself, which is 42.8% of variable costs. It's just rearranging the deck chairs, basically, of total cost, quantity, average cost, just rearranging things, and the price markup, which is price minus variable cost per unit, average variable cost, divided by average variable cost. The break even of 4.5 units at that point. We went down and did a further analysis. I broke the discussion up a little bit here, and managed a little bit better grammar. 9.07, it's really 9.08, closer to the 8. And we can figure out the minimum margin at target. Um, if we were to set prices there, we always want to set prices obviously above average total cost. Okay, that's I think the whole point here. The price revenue um, per unit that we bring in, that's a price, has to exceed average total cost. It's as simple as that. That's the simple economics of everything here. At maximum capacity, okay, AVC is dropped a lot now. You can compute the AVCs up here as well. See that it's beginning to drop. That's the thing that lowers ATC because AVC is constant. Okay? And ATC equals FC plus AVC, and there's our menagerie. We're at 10.5 in this calculation. And that's a 75% increase over target profit of 6. That's wonderful. Let's go there. Growth. We also talked about growth and talking about it again. We're now growing at 10% in this scenario. Okay. And that's not correct there. I got to fix this language right here. And let me do that right now. That's different. That's not the target profit that we were looking at before, which was only 6. And the retention ratio is still going to be 0.75. Let me fix that. There we go. Talk about changing horses in midstream there. Um, target profit is 6. That's always a bad thing to do, but we did it anyways, and then we came out okay. We crossed the stream, and crossing the stream, we have a profit in the new setup I have here, the updated setup. We have a target profit of 6, and we still have the retention ratio of plowing back 3/4 of that profit. We're making a guess here at what the flow of fixed costs, which is 13.5 times 4, is 4 times. That's the value of market value, let's say, of fixed assets, and that's what's on our balance sheet, and thus the only thing on a balance sheet. And balance sheet simply says anything on the left equals everything on the right, double entry. That's equity to us. We have no debt here. And that's 6 over 54 or 11%. Growth is 75% of that and 8.3. Can we keep this going? We'll see if we can keep any of this going. And at full capacity, we have 10.5 profit over 54 equity, and that's 19%. Now that growth, this is a simple back of the envelope growth model, but if we have a required return in excess of this growth and thinking we can get this kind of profit forever, there is a valuation model that will help us here. Um, let's say we can get so many points above 14.6, maybe 200 basis points above that. 16.6, so it's 2%. Uh, can we see that going on ad infinitum? Whoever owns the firm for however many centuries ahead, with a profit of 10.5. Yeah, that could be the market valuation if that's the required return for the level of risk. And this is a financial microeconomics issue. 10.5 times divided by 0.02. And again, um, the growing perpetuity model, very simple back of the envelope, would say uh, how much percentage return is required above and beyond growth. And we have growth here at 14.6, which is a lot. That could be a high risk situation. Let's say that it is consistent with a $54 or $54 thousand valuation. I think we would have to add uh, close to 19% on top of this. So it'd be a very high required rate of return. If that's the case, that's the current valuation. The higher the return required for the level of profit, the lower the value. And I think our value here is probably a little bit understated, so we might want to have a chat with our investor community about that. Okay, more about pricing though. Uh, there are two controls that are often used in price setting and in oligopolies to maintain discipline. And every now and then somebody goes rogue. And we have price floors, okay? We have price ceilings, okay? So um, sometimes we have short run dumping. That's often a possibility. That's happening in Europe right now, in the EU, dumping all sorts of plastic products, which is a wide range. It's hundreds of products, including synthetic rubber, which is a problem too. Um, so, what do? You can set a floor so that outrageously low cost to you, anyways, uh, products don't flood your market, and that's a real interesting problem. There are lots of articles about this happening with several companies in the EU. Um, uh, Price ceilings are less frequently seen, but the only example I'm personally aware of is a price fixing scheme, which is an international price rigging, which involved Bayer AG and Crompton and DuPont even and Xeon. Uh, these are additives to other products to make them more resilient and still very flexible. Look at the name of DuPont Dow Elastomere. Okay, that's the idea behind it. These are called rubber chemicals, and that scheme put a few people in jail and millions of dollars when it happened. 10-year period, 90s, mid 90s to the mid uh, about 2005. Big probe. Everybody was involved, guns and badges everywhere. Uh, but it's a very good example of how judicial and other regulatory institutional aspects come directly into pricing. You just can't do whatever you want. It is a discipline, a good of order, a human good of order, beyond the mere human good of desire. And the whole thing is maintaining the material fabric of humanity in one way or another without blowing ourselves up. Corruption is, we measure corruption. There is a corruption index by country, and how firms work into that. There are audits, and there are audits. Okay, we'll leave it at that for that. Interventions, there's a very, very strong interplay between having power in the markets, control, restraining your power strategically, and the oversight processes as well. The governments do, and we pay for these things. Yes, we want them. Can we game prices? Yeah, this is game theory ideas. Just wanted to float this out there because it's a common way of looking at oligopolistic pricing. Um, the way we've been going at it is we've been marking prices up over average variable cost. We're doing a total cost uh, break-even analysis, getting spreads above price spreads above the average total cost as production increases, and we want to maximize sales. We want to just put the pedal right down to the proverbial metal, maximum capacity. Okay, that's the way we're working. It's cost plus pricing. The basic assumptions here are the marginal cost is constant and equal to the average variable cost. Firms set price as a markup, which many firms do from a practical point of view. We have to have a price above this in order to be able to plow back enough profit at a level of sales. We got a lot of work to do in sales, and this is why sales organizations and assortment optimization and planograms on retail and oh my God, all the types of product selection optimization and where you're going to place your resources in what countries and markets and how you're going to pay different costs in those markets, usually regulatory costs in one way or the other. All of that gets featured in here. Maximize sales volume to increase market share. At a level, there's a little wiggle room in a five oligopolist market of roughly plus or minus 20%, and they do this all the time. The rationale is, as William Baumol, I don't know if he coined it, but that's the first place I heard about it, managerial capitalism. And the emphasis here is market penetration and utilize all your capacity. Why not? And it's long run survival because it's the plowback of profits, which reinvesting into the firm, reinvest into innovation, replacement before your production line gets destroyed, preventive maintenance over mere corrective maintenance, training of people, hiring and attracting the right talent to not only have knowledge of operations, but to understand the markets and have enough wisdom inside of that organization so that values way beyond the value of desiring to be greedy, way beyond that, the good of order pervade. Very ethical approach. And this is how prices can be stabilized. Yes, Joe Stiglitz and David Newberry. The neoclassical approach would have us set a price that optimizes marginal revenues with marginal costs. When those are equal, similar to a break even, but on a marginal basis, um, the assumptions here have, and we don't make any of these assumptions in the other approach, We got to have a downward sloping demand curve. We have to have an upward sloping marginal cost curve. And thus, if you have a downward sloping demand curve, the rate of change of that will also be downward sloping. That's called marginal revenue. And where these two meet is where we're going to set the price. And at that price and at that quantity, supposedly, profits are maximized. Now, this assumes perfect information, that everybody's rational and atomistic, non-interacting agents, basically, or a single agent representing everybody, which I have not yet seen anywhere. Although I use it in my own dissertation work and some of my other work with other co-authors. It's not right. It's ignores strategic interdependence and institutional constraints on the mark. Some key contrasts that we can summarize with markup over AVC. What I like is the cooperative nature of this. It's a very stable and less responsive to shocks. It's its own. It's like its own hedging insurance. Uh, uh, this is price rigidity, which the pure neoclassical authors advise that no, you don't do that. You're going to change things as much as you can, except it costs a lot to change prices, especially increasing prices. Just, just the data is there. It's just adjustment costs could be very large. Second part of this is to play a game uh, where we have a cooperative and a rogue oligopolist. It's just a two-player game. Um, Firm A can do one thing, and Firm B can do one thing. And the thing that they can do in the game is they can either mark up their prices or they could set prices according to neoclassical marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Now, uh, the way these interact are on the row, it's 6, that's A, and 6 is B. Um, in the second row, where A is here. Oh, I think I got this backwards as well. These should be flipped over. And again, let's change horses in midstream here while we do this. We're back again with the correct order here from the analysis up here. The cooperative firm is firm A, okay, originally. And the rogue is firm B. But firm A can also go rogue, while firm B is markup and so on. So if both of them are markup and they both got an equal share of the market, they have exactly the same economics at target, they're going to make 6. Okay, at target, that's target of 6.5. Okay, both going to make 6. 6.5 units twice, there's 13 across their markets. So that's the entire market size. Okay. No price war ensues. Everybody's hunky-dory. And somebody's switch turned on in their brain, and one of the firms goes rogue. Okay, one or the other. Doesn't matter which one actually can go rogue. Firm A can go rogue, or Firm B can go rogue. And if Firm A goes rogue, okay, they make 7.95 because they're taking, in this case, 20% of the market by cutting the price to from 10, just a quarter, to 9.75. This sort of thing happens a lot in markets. Just little price cutting, just to, be strong on your neighbor, type of thing. And that's the that's the profits there. That's the payoff. Okay. So mark up here. Firm B goes rogue, and this is what happened. On the flip side, and you can see that this skew symmetry here of all of this. It can work either way. All right, so this is a very symmetric game in that sense. Um, it's almost a mirror image. I call it skew symmetric, actually. Uh, Now, these are just ways of computing. It's very, very straightforward. But if both of them go rogue, both of them start to do that, look, they both lose. So this is kind of a prisoner's dilemma game. It's not in the sense that this is going to be repeated, and there's some other interdependencies that might be at work here that we're not modeling, but at least it gives us the illustration that what is the solution? Both uh, both should cooperate because then they can split the rewards and be friends in the next round. If especially as a shock hits, so the asteroid hits one or the other. 13 still needs to go out to the market. That's the size, the target size. How does that happen? We see firms doing that all over the place. And my uh, best example that I personally know about that is a company known as New Process Gear in Syracuse, New York, which was a joint venture of three oligopolistic competitors, car makers, in the transmission business. They found that it was better to cooperate. Everybody's profits went up as opposed to being very lopsided and going down. Okay, I mean, making 18 million units a year for the U.S. markets, cars, among other things. Uh, they found that that was the right answer, and everybody sat and agreed. They sheltered it from any Sherman antitrust issues in the U.S. and similar issues in the UK and Japan. So it was, tricolore. All three colors of the flag are there. Um, it's gruesome. uh, if you have a defector, though, I model that usually as a in a system dynamics environment, um, uh, which was pretty much discovered by Jay Forrester at MIT, looking at the same kinds of problems. What do firms actually do, and how do they act and react interdependently with one another? And the best model out there is still Predator, Prey, Lotka, and Volterra. And if you visit my, this is a plug. Oh, look at that. That's lovely. If you visit, that's where all the work gets done. System Dynamics 101.com. You can get a whole course full of this. You have a basic course that goes 7 weeks, the very basics of it using a business canvas approach. And I focus there on benefits corporations. And a second week gets you right into what we're doing right now, which is production, sales, inventory, and supply chain management. And that's a fascinating area to look at an elementary level. There's videos and models galore to regale you with this. And let's see, which one is this? How do we evaluate ourselves and so on? We can do that as well. And it's always a reflection about what we're doing. And this is a very interesting problem of modeling these processes, production processes, as well as ethics. Um, as in the video. Okay, let's see what that one looks like. And EasyJet, case 30, case 10. It's down here. And this gets into how inventory and workforce interact with one another. And it's a very interesting problem again of, we do a simulation here. And let's see what else we have. Nope, just that's the only view. And as production increases inventory, shipments decrease inventory, average order rates. There's a workforce situation inside of this that also has to be taken into account. And these are the things we're not. Now imagine you have two firms with similar dynamics, and one firm is poaching from another firm, which happens in the semiconductor industry at this moment. It's happening. Take the three big firms there, Xilinx, specialty chips. There's a Taiwanese major company, yes, and Intel and AMD, all involved in the NVIDIA GPU collapse of an AI bubble lately. But all of this is how we really begin to look at the major things that we're trying to model. Let me get back to the story here and finish it up. And that was just my plug, of course, systemdynamics101.com. So the solution actually goes beyond what we're modeling here. And it really means people are willing to, they're convinced that they're going to be better off if they can cooperate rather than, cutthroat compete. There are some people who have been quite public about not being convinced that the other guy is not out to get me all the time, or girl, or process, or asteroid, or whatever it is that's moving in the universe is out to get me. Glass is half full, glass is half empty. That worldview, that simple idea of that worldview, is what's going to solve this dilemma of pricing. Cooperate or don't cooperate. Don't cooperate? Oh, you make some extra money, so what? Yeah, try keeping up that image. Who wants to work for you? Okay, that's another thing. And maybe some people do. So strategic revolution, or resolution, revolution, is an institutionalization, ultimately, of cooperation. Again, defection is a self-defeating strategy in repeated attempts. Retaliation is always going to be guaranteed, and terror wars, there we go, make things very unstable. What can we get out of all of this? Well, there is a prescription at the bottom here. Well, the real prescription is long may we grow and prosper as we encourage each other daily. Cooperation approach. While it is still today, by the way, and starting with those most vulnerable. We start there and see everything as we're all gifts to one another. It's a very, very different point of view, and economics is transformed. Otherwise, it's just another number crunching operation, which really it isn't. Prescription here, though, for reliable, stable economics, the provision of material causes of our environment, way we have to live here, and the possibility of flourishing in that environment with growth and innovation and transforming. We design, first of all, that material, that factory, which has fulfilling an important need, safety, reliability, and safety. For purification, for example, we first of all build that for stable costing, with stable costing. We don't introduce shocky costing in there. Okay, so keep the inputs in fixed proportions, which is another thing we'll have to come back to. Set prices commensurate with constant average variable cost. Okay, that's the fixed part of the formula. AVC doesn't change with levels of production. AFC does. And as we increase levels of production, we increase them out at targets in excess of break even. and right up to the edge, the capacity to get those economies of scale. And and this is the last part. We don't do this part of the recipe, it's all for naught. We plow back our earnings. We don't consume our earnings. We plow them back into the organization. Yeah, some people will want dividends. Dividend out some of it, but keep the majority growing this operation, fulfilling ever larger needs. And those needs, again, if it starts with the most vulnerable and works up the hierarchy, all the better. All the better. So, with that thought, I leave you with this drawing again. It's the updated version of the previous video in this pricing and production series. Something to contemplate, to apply this if you're training people. You have variable cost of paying, salaries, keeping of fixed costs of securing a facility, no matter whether you whether you have your training session or not. Materials, you can get a fixed cost and a cost of variable costs very easily, and figure those out. Same exact process. What price will you set? What fee will you want for, let's say, a week-long training session? Just had this discussion with professionals who do that. I just had a discussion with a professional who puts sidewalks in to make the city safe. This is the Bronx. And how much the contract was, how much it was per square foot, what the margin was, 30% margin. And I said, well, what do you do with that margin? Well, he says, I don't eat it, that's for sure. I bring it back into the organization, improve the techniques, make things really good for the workers because they want to work for me. And I want them to work for me, and I'll work for them. What a thought! That's a sidewalk contractor working in millions of dollars of good sidewalks for the Bronx. And I'll tell you, we need it. NVIDIA, GPUs, AI, same thing. Exact same boring model. It's going to be at capacity, and that capacity will move with technological innovation, because profits, when they do come, will be plowed back into the organization for more innovation. Okay? So that's the message. Enjoy. Try this model out. Try it out on some other markets and other ideas. It'll be an interesting ride. And again, thank you very much. Keep encouraging one another while it's today. And thank you for your kind attention. Till the next round. Take care.